I woke up to a tow truck trying to take my wheelchair van in my own assigned parking spot.
Why?
Because the new HOA board member thought it was ugly. What she didn't know, I'm a disabled vet, and my van is protected by federal law. She messed with the wrong guy, and the ADA. Every December, our quiet cul-de-sac in Evergreen Falls turned into something out of a Hallmark movie. Twinkling lights draped across rooftops, inflatable snowmen danced in yards, and kids ran between houses with hot cocoa mustaches and joy in their eyes. Our neighborhood wasn't just festive, it was famous. Local papers wrote about our lights. Families from nearby towns drove through just to see the magic. Then came Karen. She moved in 3 months before Christmas. A single woman in her mid-50s, she wore beige like it was a uniform and spoke in rules and ordinances. Within a week, she had already filed 3 complaints with the HOA. One for inadequate lawn symmetry, another for noisy recycling bins, and a third because Mr. Dalton's Halloween fog machine resembled a biohazard. But we were still hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, the Christmas spirit would soften her. We were wrong. November 30th. Lights go up. I was out front with my son Liam, stapling strings of red and green lights to the gutters when Karen approached. She held a clipboard like it was a weapon and stood on the edge of our property like she might get infected by joy if she stepped any closer. "You're aware," she began sharply, "that Section 8, Paragraph 3 of the Evergreen Falls HOA Guidelines states that external decorations may not be installed prior to December 1st. I smiled, trying to defuse the tension. "Yep. That's why we're not turning them on until tomorrow. Just getting ahead of the frost." She blinked, displeased. "There will be no displays at all this year. I've submitted a motion to suspend holiday lights due to energy usage and neighborhood cohesion." Neighborhood cohesion? I asked. It encourages competition, disorder, unapproved traffic patterns, not to mention light pollution. I tried not to laugh. "Karen, this is the one time of year we all come together. It's tradition." She sniffed. "Some traditions need to be updated." December 1st, the petition. By morning, word spread like wildfire. Karen had indeed submitted a formal request to the HOA board to ban all outdoor Christmas displays in our subdivision. She cited climate concerns, emotional overstimulation, and property value dilution. That afternoon, my wife Ellie and I printed a counter-petition. We went door to door, and it was like someone flipped a switch. People who hadn't talked in months were suddenly huddled together, angry but united. "She wants to kill Christmas. Over my dead inflatable Santa. I just bought a $300 light show controller." What about the kids? By nightfall, 27 out of 30 households had signed. The only 3 that didn't? Karen's immediate neighbor, who was out of town, and the HOA president, Brian Latch, a man with the spine of a cooked noodle. December 3rd, lights go dark. Karen's request was fast-tracked. The HOA board, most of whom didn't live in the subdivision, voted 3-2 in favor of temporarily suspending seasonal exterior displays pending energy audits and revised guidelines. That night, we turned off our lights. It was eerie. The once vibrant street now sat in quiet, angry darkness. The kids were confused. Cars stopped pulling in. Joy disappeared like someone had unplugged it. December 5th. The spark. But you can't kill the Christmas spirit that easily. Mrs. Navarro, our 82-year-old neighbor, placed a single candle in her window. Then, the Masons added a wreath to their front door. Liam cut out paper snowflakes and taped them to every window. "We can still decorate, right?" he asked. "Technically, yes," Ellie replied. "As long as it's not electronic." The block took that as a challenge. Overnight, dozens of paper decorations appeared. DIY garlands, pine cones, handmade reindeer. Mr. Dalton carved a full nativity scene out of firewood scraps. People got creative. It wasn't about lights anymore, it was about resilience. Karen, furious. She called code enforcement. They told her that non-electric decorations weren't under HOA jurisdiction. She started patrolling the neighborhood with a flashlight and notebook. Someone started calling her Scrooge with a clipboard. December 10th. Lights. camera, rebellion. Then came the night of the blackout rebellion. It started with the Lanes at the corner. At exactly 7 p.m., they flipped their breakers and lit up their house like Times Square. One by one, each house followed suit. Strings of blinking lights. Projected snowflakes. Music-synced displays. It was as if the entire block had rehearsed a secret routine, because they had. We coordinated it all in a private Facebook group called Operation Slaystorm. Even Mr. Latch, the HOA president, came out of his house with a Santa hat and a cider in hand. Karen stormed out onto her lawn, sputtering. "This is illegal. You're violating a board order." I raised a mug and smiled. "Actually, we appealed. The board reconsidered. We won." She froze. "What? Didn't read the newsletter?" Turns out HOA members can override non-safety-related decisions with a 2/3 vote. We hit 90%. She turned to Latch. "You spineless worm." "Merry Christmas to you too, Karen," he said, sipping his cider. December 12th. Karen's lawsuit. Undeterred, Karen filed a lawsuit against the HOA and 4 homeowners for emotional distress and unlawful illumination. It made local news. Most people laughed. Some didn't. A reporter visited the neighborhood and aired a feel-good segment called Asterisk, the block that saved Christmas. Asterisk viewership exploded. Donations poured in. A local attorney offered to represent the HOA, pro bono. Karen's case was dismissed. December 18th. The apology. One evening, Ellie found Karen standing quietly near our sidewalk, staring at the lights. She looked tired. "I lost my husband last Christmas," she said softly. "The lights, they make me feel like it never happened. Like people moved on too fast." Ellie was quiet for a moment. "Karen, why didn't you say something?" "I thought if I could control it, maybe I wouldn't feel so out of control." That night, Ellie and I talked. The next morning, we and a few neighbors delivered a basket to her door. Cookies, a candle, and a handmade ornament with her late husband's name on it. Karen didn't open the door. But the next evening, she placed the ornament on a small tree in her yard, and plugged in a single strand of lights. December 24th, the cul-de-sac choir. Christmas Eve. For the first time in weeks, Karen stepped outside without her clipboard. She wore a wool coat and held a thermos. No shouting. No measuring tape. Just a quiet nod to everyone around her. Then out of nowhere, Liam walked to the center of the cul-de-sac with a small bell and shouted, "Everyone! It's time!" One by one, we gathered. Kids. Parents. Old couples in matching reindeer sweaters. Even Mr. Dalton in his inflatable Grinch costume. And we sang, "Silent Night, Holy Night." As the last verse echoed into the crisp December air, I looked around. The lights shimmered. The kids giggled. And Karen, she smiled. Epilogue. January 1st. HOA regulations were revised. Decorations allowed from November 25th to January 5th with optional extensions for cultural celebrations. Karen joined the HOA board, and believe it or not, became its most balanced voice. Not soft, not overly strict. Just human. Every year now, she puts up the same lights, a strand of white bulbs around her porch, and a star in the window. Right next to the ornament we gave her. And the block. Still famous. Still bright. Still the place where the spirit of Christmas proved stronger than rules, and way stronger than a clipboard. Under the Fair Housing Act, FHA, and the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, individuals with disabilities are entitled to reasonable accommodations, including the right to park mobility vehicles, even if HOA rules prohibit certain vehicle types or sizes. HOAs must allow reasonable modifications, like reserved parking spaces or wheelchair-accessible ramps, as long as they don't impose an undue burden or fundamentally alter the nature of the community. If you are being harassed or denied accommodations, document everything and contact HUD or a local civil rights attorney. Many cases are resolved once the HOA is informed of federal violations. Don't be intimidated. Many people, even HOA board members, don't fully understand the law. That doesn't mean they're above it. And finally, remember, not all Karens are bad, but when they are, make sure you've got your facts, your rights, and your backbone ready. Because justice rolls on 4 wheels, a ramp, and federal backing. Know your rights. Stand your ground. Disability is not an inconvenience. It's protected by law. If someone tries to silence your independence or strip away your dignity, fight back with facts and share this to remind every HOA, every board member, and every bully, you can't tow justice.